Be me, 42-year-old single mother. Have one son, Dylan, who just turned 16. Raised him alone since his father left when he was 3. Always told myself I'd do better than my traditional mother did. I read all the books about raising boys differently. Determined to break cycles, create a better man. Never thought I'd be writing this confession. Dylan was such a sweet kid, curious, energetic, always building things. When he was 7, started getting interested in woodworking. Found my dad's old tools in the garage. Wanted to make birdhouses. I allowed it, but made sure to explain that domestic skills weren't gendered, that women could build just as well as men. He nodded, but his smile faded a little. Should have noticed that. Things really started when he hit middle school. Came home excited about trying out for basketball. I sat him down for what I thought was an important conversation. Explained how competitive sports create hierarchies, how they teach boys to dominate, rather than collaborate, how the culture around athletics often excludes and demeans, suggested he join the environmental club instead. More cooperative, less aggressive. He went quiet. Signed up for basketball anyway. Made the team. I didn't go to games. Told him I couldn't support systems that perpetuated harmful dynamics. He stopped telling me about practices. His father started sending him birthday cards around age 13. Dylan asked if he could visit him one summer. I explained carefully why that wasn't a good idea. That his father represented everything wrong with traditional masculinity, walking away from responsibility, choosing himself over family, that Dylan needed to understand these patterns to avoid repeating them. He asked if he could just write back. I said we'd talk about it later. Threw the cards away when he wasn't looking. Was I protecting him or protecting my narrative? Convinced myself it was the former. 8th grade, he wanted to take shop class, guidance. Counselor called it vocational exploration. I scheduled a meeting and explained that tracking boys into manual labor while others took advanced academics was problematic. That these classes reinforced class and gender divisions, pushed him into an extra science course instead. He liked science well enough, but I saw him watching woodworking videos on his phone late at night. Confiscated the phone. Told him screen time was rotting his brain anyway. Started noticing he'd get frustrated and punch his pillow. Normal teenage aggression, probably. But I saw it as my responsibility to redirect. Sat him down every time. Explained that violence, even against objects, was learned behavior. That anger was often masking other emotions he needed to identify. Made him journal his feelings instead. Found the journal once. Every entry was the same. I don't know. I'm fine. Nothing to say. Never occurred to me that my method was the problem. His freshman year, he mentioned wanting to join ROTC. Absolutely not. Spent an entire evening explaining military-industrial complex, how armies were tools of imperialism, how masculine ideals of honor and service were manipulations, how they preyed on young men's need for purpose. Gave him 3 books to read on the subject. He didn't read them. Sulked for weeks. I told him sulking was manipulation, that he needed to communicate openly. He said, "I did communicate. You just said no." Sent him to his room for being disrespectful. Somewhere around 15, he started asking about his grandfather. My dad died when Dylan was young and wanted to know what he was like. I was honest. Told him Grandpa was a product of his time, well-meaning but limited by traditional views. That he'd expected my mother to handle everything domestic. That he'd been emotionally unavailable in many ways. Dylan asked if I had any good memories. Of course I did, but I explained context was important. That nostalgia could blind us to problematic dynamics. He stopped, asking about Grandpa. He made a friend, Tyler, sophomore year. Nice enough kid from what I saw. They'd play video games together. I monitored the games carefully. Too much shooting. Too much violence, too many hyper-masculine power fantasies, instituted a new rule. Only cooperative, non-violent games in our house. Tyler stopped coming over. Dylan asked why I had to embarrass him. I explained I wasn't embarrassing him, I was parenting him, that his discomfort was less important than his development. He said Tyler's mom didn't care about that stuff. I said that was exactly the problem with most parenting. Got called in for a teacher conference junior year. His English teacher said Dylan was withdrawn, didn't participate in discussions anymore, used to be one of her most engaged students. I asked if something had happened. She said the class had read a book about a father and son. Dylan had written a beautiful essay about longing for connection, then refused to read it aloud. When she asked why, he said, "My mom would find something wrong with it." The teacher suggested family counseling. I explained that I didn't need a counselor to tell me how to raise my son, that maybe the education system needed to examine why boys felt entitled to take up space. Started noticing him wearing his dad's old jacket. I'd kept it in the back of a closet, forgot it was there. Asked him about it. He said he found it and liked how it fit. I gently suggested that clinging to absent father figures was a common pattern, that he might be romanticizing someone who didn't deserve it. He could honor himself instead. He kept wearing the jacket. I donated it to Goodwill while he was at school. He didn't mention it, just got quieter. His grades started slipping. Found out he was skipping his elective to sit in the library. The elective was a gender studies course I'd encouraged him to take. Thought it would give him framework and vocabulary. Asked him why he wasn't going. He said, "Because I get enough of that at home. I was hurt." Told him education was a privilege, that understanding these concepts would make him a better person. He said, "Or maybe it would just make me better at repeating what you want to hear." Grounded him for a month. He asked to get his driver's license. Most of his friends were already driving. I had concerns about car culture, about how automobiles gave teenage boys dangerous freedom, about accident statistics, about environmental impact. He told him we'd discuss it when he was 18. He biked everywhere instead, even in rain, even in winter. His lips would be blue when he got home. I told him to dress warmer. He said he was fine. Caught him looking at college brochures. All out of state, all far away. Asked him about it. He said he was just looking. I suggested the state school, close enough to visit, affordable, good programs. He asked if he could make any decisions for himself. I said, of course, when he was ready, when he'd developed critical thinking skills. He laughed, not a happy laugh. Said, "I have critical thinking skills. They just led me to different conclusions than yours." I said that was disrespectful. He said, "Everything I say is disrespectful to you." He turned 16 last month. I'd planned a quiet dinner, just us. Made his favorite meal from when he was little, vegetarian lasagna. He came down and barely spoke. I asked about his day. One-word answers. I asked about his plans. Shrugged. I started talking about college applications. Suggested he write his essay about growing up with a single mother, about learning to question societal norms. He put down his fork. "I'm not writing about you," he said. I laughed, said that's not what I meant. He could write about his own journey, how he'd been raised to think critically about gender. "You mean how I've been raised as your social experiment?" I was taken aback, told him that wasn't fair, that everything I'd done was out of love, that I'd worked hard to give him advantages I never had, to free him from boxes that limited his father. He stood up. "Do you even know me?" he asked. "Of course I know you. You're my son." "No," he said. "You know who you want me to be. You know the version of me that proves your theory's right." I tried to stay calm, asked him to sit down so we could discuss this. He didn't sit. "I wanted to play basketball. You said it was toxic. I wanted to build things. You said I was retreating into masculine stereotypes. I wanted to know my dad. You said he was a cautionary tale. I wanted to take shop class. You said it was beneath me. I wanted to join ROTC. You gave me a lecture instead of listening to why." His voice was shaking now. "I wanted to just be sad sometimes without you analyzing what it meant about patriarchy. I wanted to be excited about things without you explaining what was wrong with them. I wanted a mom who saw me instead of a project." I told him he was being dramatic, that adolescence was hard, and he was displacing, that he'd understand when he was older, that I'd given up everything to raise him right. He looked at me then, really looked at me. His eyes were red. "I wish I had a different mother," the words hung there. I waited for him to take them back, to apologize. He didn't. He just turned and walked upstairs. I heard his door lock, sat at the table alone, The lasagna getting cold. Told myself he was just a teenager, that they all say things like that he'd calm down and we'd talk. But something felt different this time. Final. He tried to talk to him the next morning. He left before I woke up, came home late. Same thing the next day, and the next. We lived in the same house like strangers. Worse than strangers. Strangers might accidentally speak. Found myself replaying conversations. Things I'd said that seemed so clear at the time, now sounded different in memory. When he'd wanted to try wrestling and I'd explained grappling sports were sublimated violence. When he'd been excited about a camping trip and I'd worried about boys will be boys culture. When he'd asked if he could just like things without them meaning something. And I'd said everything means something. Was I right? Or was I just always right in my own mind? Called my sister finally. Hadn't spoken to her much in years. She'd always been more traditional. Married, 3 kids, lived in the suburbs. I'd privately judged her choices, told her what happened. She was quiet for a long time. Do you remember when Dylan was little? She asked. When you brought him to Christmas that one year? I remembered. He was maybe 5. Her boys had gotten toy trucks and action figures. My son had gotten art supplies and books. I'd been proud of choosing differently. He spent the whole day playing with their trucks, she said. You kept redirecting him to his gifts. He'd go right back to the trucks. At one point he asked if Santa loved him less because he didn't get trucks. You told him Santa wasn't real and that toys were marketing. He was 5. I tried to explain my reasoning. She cut me off. I'm not saying you're wrong about society, she said. But Dylan isn't society. He's one kid who needed to feel like who he was okay. Instead, you made him wrong for every instinct he had. Wanted to argue. Wanted to explain she didn't understand. But I couldn't. Because she was right. I'd spent 16 years making my son feel wrong. And he came home that evening. I was waiting in the kitchen. Asked if we could talk. He stood in the doorway, arms crossed. I apologized. Told him I'd been thinking about what he said. That I wanted to understand. He didn't move. What's my favorite color? He asked. I started to answer blue, but stopped. Was it blue? Or was that just what I'd painted his nursery? I didn't know. What do I want to study in college? I didn't know. What's my favorite food that isn't what you cook? Didn't know. What do I do with Tyler when we hang out? Didn't know that either. You don't know anything about me, he said quietly, because you never asked. You just told. Told me what to think, how to feel, who to be. And every time I tried to show you who I actually am, you corrected me. I was crying now. Told him I'd wanted to protect him. Wanted him to be different from other men. Better than the ones who'd hurt me. Better than his father. He shook his head. You wanted to win an argument with people who aren't even here. And you used me as your evidence. He was right. God, he was right. Every time I'd corrected him, I'd been arguing with my ex. With my father. With every man who'd ever dismissed me. Dylan was just the only one who had to listen. Asked him what I could do. How I could fix this. He looked exhausted. I don't think you can. Not because I don't want you to, but because you can't just undo 16 years. I don't know who I am outside of reacting to you, and I need to figure that out. He's been staying at my ward sister's house for 2 weeks now. Says he needs space. My own son needs space from me. I wake up and make breakfast for one. The house is quiet. I used to tell myself quiet was peaceful. Now it's just empty. Went through his room yesterday. Looking for I don't know what. Found a box under his bed. Full of things I thought I'd thrown away. His grandfather's watch. Birthday cards from his father. That jacket I donated. He must have bought it back. A basketball signed by his team. The ROTC application. Filled out but never submitted. A journal I'd never seen. Shouldn't have read it. Did anyway. Page after page about feeling wrong. About trying to be what I wanted. About failing. About wishing he could just be normal. About loving me but not liking who he was around me. The last entry was from his birthday. She'll never see me. She's too busy looking at her reflection and what she thinks I should be. I'm just a mirror to her, and I'm tired of not being real. Called my sister. Asked how. He was. She said he's okay. He's helping her husband build a deck. He's laughing more. He seems lighter. Then gently, he asked if he could stay through the school year. Felt like being punched. Wanted to say no. Wanted to demand he come home. But what home? To what? If that's what he needs, I heard myself say. Meant it. Didn't mean it. Maybe both. Started seeing a therapist. Not family counseling, just for me. Thought I had everything figured out. Thought I'd deconstructed all my conditioning. Turns out I'd just built a different cage. One where I was right and anyone who disagreed was wrong. Even my own child, especially my own child. Therapist asked what I wanted for Dylan. Started listing accomplishments. College, career, awareness. She stopped me. What do you want for him? Not what do you want him to do or understand. What do you want him to have? Couldn't answer. Realized I'd never thought about it that way. Never asked what would make him happy. Only what would make him correct. Wrote him a letter. Didn't send it. Wrote another. Didn't send that one either. What do you say to someone you've spent their whole life trying to fix? How do you apologize for making them a symbol instead of a son? Finally wrote, I'm sorry. You deserved a mother who saw you. I was too busy trying to save you from things you didn't need saving from. I don't know if we can fix this, but I want you to know it wasn't your fault. You were never wrong. I was just always afraid. He texted back 3 days later. I know. Thank you for saying it. Nothing else. But it was something. We meet for coffee sometimes now. Once every 2 weeks. He's still staying with my sister. Senior year started and he's applying to colleges, all far away. I don't comment. He talks about his classes, his plans. Carefully edited version of his life. I listen, try not to lecture, catch myself starting to and stop. Last time we met, he mentioned he's thinking about engineering. Wanted to tell him about women in STEM, about diversity initiatives, about gender discrimination in tech fields. Bit my tongue. Just said, that sounds interesting. What kind of engineering? He looked surprised. Talked for 20 minutes about robotics. His whole face changed. I'd forgotten what he looked like, excited. Maybe I'd never known. He's 17 now. In a year he'll be gone. Really gone. Not just across town at my sister's. And I'll have the rest of my life to sit in this quiet house, with all my principles, all my awareness, all my rightness, and none of my son. Thought I was raising him to be better. Turns out I was just raising him to leave. All those other mothers I judged, the ones who let their sons play football, who didn't question every game and toy, who weren't raising them with frameworks and theory. Their sons probably still talk to them, probably come home for holidays, probably don't wish they had someone else. Was I wrong about everything? No. Society does condition boys badly. Masculinity does need reimagining. Systems do need dismantling. But Dylan wasn't a system. He was a child. My child. And I dismantled him instead. Sister says he's doing well. He's on the robotics team. He's dating someone. He seems happy. He goes to therapy too now, working through things. Wonder if I'm the things he's working through. No, I am. Tried to tell him once that I'd done my best. He said, I know. Then, but your best was for you, not for me. Can't even be angry about it. He's right. Every choice I made to prove something. To myself, to the world, to ghosts of men who'd never see it anyway. Dylan was just collateral. He graduates in 6 months. Leaving for college in 8. Sometimes I imagine a different timeline. One where I'd just let him play basketball. Let him build birdhouses without commentary. Let him know his grandfather and his father, flaws and all. Let him be wrong and learn from it. Let him be himself. Who would he be in that timeline? Would he be the same person avoiding me at coffee shops? Or would he be someone who still called me mom without that hesitation first? I don't know if we'll ever have a real relationship. He's polite now. Cordial. Answers my texts. Meets me when I ask. But the wall is there, built brick by brick over 16 years. Every lecture a brick, every dismissal. Every time I chose being right over being his mother. He told me once, recently, that he doesn't hate me. Said it unprompted. We were sitting in silence, and he just said it. I don't hate you, you know. I hadn't asked. Must have shown on my face, though. I just need to figure out who I am. and I can't do that around you. Because around you, I'm either what you want or I'm wrong, and I need to find out if there's something in between. I'm writing this as a confession, not for sympathy, not for absolution, maybe as a warning to other mothers who think they're doing it right, who think they're breaking cycles, who think their awareness makes them better. You can be right about the world and still wrong about your child. You can have all the best theories and still destroy what you're trying to build. You can love someone and still lose them. Not to the world, to yourself, to your need to be right. Dylan will be fine. He's smart. He's resilient. He's got support. He'll go to college. He'll build robots or bridges or whatever he wants. He'll probably be successful. He might even forgive me eventually, but he won't come back. Not really. Because there's nothing to come back to. I wanted to raise a son who was different. I did. He's different from what I planned. He's his own person despite me, not because of me. And I'll spend the rest of my life knowing I had one job, one child, one chance to get it right. And I chose my principles over his personhood, chose winning arguments over winning his trust, chose being correct over being connected. He wished for a different mother, and I can't even say he was wrong. He deserved one. Someone who saw him as a son, not a statement. Someone who loved him more than her ideology. Someone who knew his favorite color. It's green, by the way, I asked my sister. It's green.